What's going on, everybody? Now on here, and there's been a lot of movement in the booster box market, specifically in Sword and Shield. I did a video a couple weeks ago mentioning that some of the sets were starting to move. Evolving Skies was starting to move. Fusion Strike was starting to move. And generally speaking, when you see those sets, they kind of lead the next leg up. So I wanted to put together an update on the relative value tracker for both Scarlet and Violet and Sword and Shield base sets, or Sword and Shield era sets. And the reason for that is if we look at column P, this is the box price change. And we're basically looking at 19 days from the 26th through the 13th. So just basically 3 weeks time. So if we look at this, we could see some pretty big swings here. Twilight up 7.5%, Obsidian up 11%, Lost Origin up almost 30%, Brilliant 10%, Fusion 20%, Chilling Reign finally 20%, and then you have Darkness and Rebel Clash up 13 and 18% respectively. So a lot of these are really starting to move. Sword and Shield base is $650. It's 2 boxes from being $800. And what's interesting, when you look at Sword and Shield base, fast forward to 5 years from now, that might be the rarity of Shrouded Fable, give or take, assuming we don't get a reprint. So when I keep pounding the table on Shrouded Fable, you can't look at it as it is today. You can't completely look at it from the value of the cards in the set. You have to look at it from the standpoint of, well, this set's going to be unique, and it's most likely going to be unique because it's almost certainly to not get reprinted. So that being said, let's look at the box prices and the price to value. So Destin Rivals, this is kind of an all-time low here. And this is effectively, the box price is 15% of the set value. And this has matured quite a bit. You know, we're 2/10 of a year old, a little bit more than that now. So, you know, call it almost, no, I guess we are a little bit over 2 months at this point. Almost 2.5 months. The set value settled in right around $2,000. It's a pretty deep set. I am anticipating a reprint of this coming, or a second wave of this coming, whatever you want to call it. We'll see when we look at the print of the boxes. Coming with Mega Evolutions 1. So probably starting to hit distribution 3 or 4 weeks from now, maybe a little bit sooner. I'm super interested to get it. Now we've seen some booster bundles come out, but no real meaningful reprints at all. So I think it's going to take a lot to get the value of the cards in the set down. I know Surging Sparks for the longest time was $1,400, $1,500. It's only down to $1,100 here, and this is after like a third reprint getting dumped on the market, and quite honestly, the set being 2/3 or 3/4 of a year old, really starting to get darn close to a year old. So 15% is absolutely crazy. Journey Together 36%. This booster box price it's flat over a couple weeks ago, but if you recall, this was effectively down at $200. So this is rebounded pretty significantly. Surging Sparks down a little bit, but still 21%. So the second cheapest set relative to set value that's out there. And if you look at Destin, you look at Surging Sparks, the two things that they have in common is they have the highest level and magnitude of supply of the market. So when we look at this analysis is predictive from the standpoint of, as supply levels normalize and the value of the box no longer has the impact of supply shocks, if you will. So stores getting Surging Sparks boxes for $150 and being able to sell them at $220 if they want to, or the same with Destin Rivals. Things will start to normalize, and that box price is going to start to creep up. The set value is going to come down a little bit because there's going to be more product open, and we're going to get to a little bit more of an equilibrium as it comes to box price and set value, and things will probably settle somewhere in the high 20s, low 30s, which is kind of what we're looking at here consistently. Stellar Crown, box price is up again, all-time high $229. The value of the cards in the set is pretty crappy, but there aren't a lot of these out there. There wasn't a second wave or a second reprint. As far as I know, there wasn't a second wave of anything. It's just kind of out there, and there isn't a whole lot that's come out. Now, we did get the We did get, or we are getting a 10-pack EX box that's going to have 5 packs of Stellar Crown in it. I forget what I think it's Stellar Crown and Twilight, or Stellar and Surging, one of the two. So there's more packs coming to market, but there's really no other product. And quite honestly, the fact that the booster box is worth this much, I would have expected the ETB to be priced a little bit higher at this point. So moving on, Twilight $290. It's going to break $300 soon, but it's still only at 30% of the set value. And if you go back to some of these sets that are about a year older, year 40, 45, you add an extra 10% onto this. Now you're pushing $450 per box. And this is also priced with the Greninja taking a little bit of a step backwards. So one of the news articles that came out today, I saw Eli from Pokémon posted on his Twitter account. He said, reprints confirmed, or massive reprints confirmed. Surging Sparks and Twilight Masquerade ETBs. And I had people in Discord saying, oh my God, what is this? And if you read it, he put massive in quotes. And I think he was clowning on PokeNotify, who put out that bullshit Paldea Evolve reprints confirmed in the thumbnail that's booster boxes and ETBs when it was a handful of sleeve boosters. So I believe it was sarcasm. I've heard nothing from anybody at distribution that there's any reprint coming. Quite honestly, I hope it's true, because I would love to have a bunch of cases of those at distribution price that I can sit on. But I don't think so. And I know GameStop has a list of items that are up and coming, and it does include Twilight Masquerade and Surging Sparks ETBs. My guess is it's probably product that was shipped around from another country in English printing. I think I've mentioned this multiple times. A lot of the product goes to Europe. It doesn't sell very well. The European market is far more price sensitive than us stupid Americans, where we see a box at $120. We don't want it nearly as much as we do if the price is at $300. It kind of sounds funny if you say it that way, but it is true. So anyway, looks like there's some product coming. Certainly not booster boxes, and as far as I know, it hasn't gone through distribution. Temporal $245. So I've been saying this for a while. This, in my mind, is going to be the next set that gets to $300. Now, Obsidian Flames has taken a step up at $255, but I mean, this is effectively the Darkness Ablaze of the era. A completely shitty set. The cards aren't worth much, if anything. But people want the boxes because it's a Charizard set. The boxes are cool. And the amount of time that it was in print was a little bit condensed based on other sets. Now, we did get a reprint of these back in October, but looks like people are ripping them and the product's disappearing. So going back to Paradox Rift, ton of value here. This box is super undervalued for a set that has $800 of value and a set that's going to rotate out in 6 months. This box price should probably be closer to $300. And it's just the fact there is a bunch of product that's out there still. And there's a bunch of stores that are trying to dump it because, quite honestly, it didn't sell well for a while. So if you want to buy any set, I personally would be buying Paradox Rift and SV Base to some extent. But Paradox Rift, I think, is probably by far the best value here. So Paldea evolved back to $365. This was as high as $385, I think, before the smear campaign on Paldea evolved about the world is ending and your Magikarp is going to zero. So still good value too. This is the third most valuable set in the era. I would imagine as we continue to get more reprints of Surging Sparks and Paldea evolved ages, that it's going to overtake Surging Sparks as the second most valuable set in the era. And then SV Base, not a great value for a base set, but $220 a box, 44%. That's about where it should be. So moving on, let's talk Sword and Shield. And this is where it starts to get a little crazy. So Silver Tempest boxes are up 6%. Now the value of the cards in the set is up over $50, and that's mostly because the Lugia V has gone nuts. That card in near mint is pushing $400 at this point. $350, $400. I believe it's going to start to give the Giratina from Lost Origin a run for its money here at some point. Probably the same with the Gengar. It may not quite get there in Fusion Strike, but it might get close. And don't look now, but for the longest time, it was the Lugia or bust. I was taking a look at the set as I was going through this. There's 4, 5, 6 cards that are over 20, $30 now in that set, which was a little shocking to me. So, this is a set where if it's not Lugia or bust, this could very easily pass Lost Origins, could pass Brilliant Stars, could even potentially pass, probably not Chilling Infusion, but it is a year younger. So a year from now, it has a shot. It believe it or not, it does have a shot to be the second most valuable set in the era. Now, it's not a high shot. I think the odds of Fusion and Chilling falling behind and having it pass it, 50-50 in my view. And again, you can call me crazy, but this is what happens when you have a set that was printed to high hell, and then it starts to age and mature. And now all of a sudden, there isn't that much sealed product out there. And then people start getting FOMO on the chase card in the set, which just happens to be the third most valuable chase card in the era. In fact, was it the Astral Machamp? Is it? I'm not even sure. But one of those chase cards completely caught me off guard. And is it $300 raw right now? Or maybe it was Chilling Rain. But it's kind of nuts what's moving, and the more valuable cards. And if you look at the set values are actually up pretty much across the board here by a couple bucks, except for Fusion because the Moonbreon's down a little bit. Everything's churning here, and I think everything's really going to start to take a step up. Once Silver Tempest crosses $400, it's at $398 now. I could see it move to $475, $500 very quickly, and it should. It is not that far behind Lost Origin, and Lost Origin's at $725, probably going to be $800 here. And this Infusion Striker, they're long in the tooth, or it's a little stretched. You can see where the booster box has moved. They're a little bit out over their skis, but we'll see. Astral, this has taken a little bit of step back. Again, the value in Astral is a little bit above Silver Tempest. This should probably be a $500 as well. Same with Brilliant. It's $453. It's getting there. But you throw a 60% multiplier on this, the same as you have Lost Origin and Fusion, because you have people buying it because of the hype. And that's quite honestly it. It is going to drag the rest of these sets with it. It's just a matter of time, and it's going to be Silver, it's going to be Astral, it's going to be Brilliant Stars, and we're starting to see Chilling. Chilling's up to $500 now, which is an all-time high. It's still only 32% of set value. It is the second most valuable set in the Sword and Shield era, and it's only the fourth most valuable. I mean, let's ignore Rebel Clash and Sword and Shield base. Those are up there because there's just a massive shortage of them compared to what demand is, and that's why you're seeing the fact that they're selling for a multiple of the value of the cards in the set. So that being said, Battle Styles at $220. The value of the cards has come down. I know when we did this a couple months ago, it was $700 and some dollars. Probably some upside. Vivid Voltage is interesting. So this reminds me a little bit of Obsidian Flames, even though there is a lot of this product out here. Probably significantly more than Obsidian. The value of the cards isn't great, and the boxes continue to go up. They continue to get ripped. They continue to disappear on the market. And I think people are they're interested in chasing the fat Pikachu, Chonkachu, whatever you want to call them. So we'll see. So in summary, the best value right now is Destined Rivals. I would probably stay away because we need to see what shoe drops next with reprints on this. But as reprints come in, again, I have a hard time seeing the box price taking too much of a dip. We just watched this movie with Surging Sparks, which was not as strong of a set as Destined Rivals. And quite honestly, the hype right now is among the peak. I know we've said this multiple times. Everybody thought it was going to peak with Prismatic, then it was going to peak with Destin and take a step back. Mega is as good of a set, in my opinion. If not, it could be better. It could be worse. It's really going to depend on the reception of those 2 gold cards. So, Chilling Reign. I mean, this should be a $700 box. In fact, it should be worth more than Fusion Strike. The only reasons it's not is because its name isn't Fusion Strike. That's it. Fusion Strike and Lost Origins are up on the FOMO. You put this at 50% or 60%, it is a $900 booster box all day long, which is a 2x from here. Evolving still underpriced at 50%. It's getting closer to fair value. Fusion Strike's toppy. Lost Origins is toppy. Doesn't mean it can't keep going up. It just means I probably wouldn't buy them here. Certainly wouldn't sell them either, by the way, just to be clear. Brilliant has room to move. Astral has more room to move. Silver Tempest, this was my dark horse for my 2025 projections, was that Silver Tempest would end up being the 4th most valuable booster box in the set by the end of the year. It has a shot. It really does. Now, that's because Chilling Reign is lagging, but outside of that, it's all going to come down to the Lugia and the rest of the cards in the set. So, and then, going back to Scarlet Violet, I would be loading up on Paradox Rift because it is available and it's going to rotate out. And then from a specialty set perspective, I've said Paldean Fate's still on blue in the face. Everybody knows 151 is going to take off. But if we look at what happens when things rotate out, and I use this example either today in the live stream I did or yesterday in my video. If we look at what happened with Silver Tempest when it went out of stock at Pokemon Center, it was selling for $143 a box, which was the old MSRP. It was at $200 a week and a half later, and then it just continued to go up. Now we're at $400. We are at effectively 3x what this was not even a year ago, because I believe it sold out in December of last year. We look at SV Base, Paldea, Obsidian, Paradox Rift, 151 Paldean Fates. When these sets rotate out or get damn close, call it January, February of 2026, they are going to go up by 50%. Because once the market has confidence that they're not going to get smashed, people are going to start to go all in on these sets. And next thing you know, they're all going to be sitting at $400. And, God forbid crypto's over 120, 125. The market's still humming. The state of the economy isn't going to matter. These boxes are going to be over $400 each. And that's by the middle of next year. So there is a lot of upside here. There really is. And you just have to take a look. You have to look at the relative values. You have to be willing to buy cheap stuff. You really do. So anyway, guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord. We do have sales coming up for Mega Evolutions and Spider-Man. Fingers crossed we'll get enough allocations of Riftbound to do a Riftbound sale. I do have about 15 slots available still in Elite. We just promoted a couple people, so there's some slots that freed up, and then we'll be full again. Allocations continue to grow, so it's all up. It's all downhill from here. So anyway, guys, have a great night, and we'll talk soon.